John Emmett, Dogzilla, that's Stingray.
Yeah.
Ted Ryman, Cape Town. Clayton Embley in Bourbon Country as usual. Gordon Smith in Denmark. Rick Bannero, hi Rick. In New York City, he's training on the Metro North, going into New York City from Connecticut. Julie Ahrens, hi. Julia in Cleveland. Rainy Cleveland. Andrew Pindar, evening from the Queen of Watering Places. I sent you a note, Andrew. Are we going to be getting you on the show on Friday? Chris Exley, hi Chris. Alistair Murray down in Melbourne, where it's early. We're getting this one across the starting line. Welcome. We're live from Studio B as usual. We got a lot of people on here already.
Yes.
Greg Phillips is on the Gold Coast of Oz. Pedro Foiling Sailor, another Aussie, up and at 'em. Great show today, and the question is, will Tom go off on a tangent? Not really, Peter. I'm not going to do that. Pedro Foiling Sailor. Jamie Hutchison, good evening. Hi, Jamie. Jeff Kitson, good afternoon from Michigan. This multi-hull sailor since early 1970s, looking forward to Sail GP. I think we all are. And if you're just joining us, we are, as usual, in Studio B, where it's a rainy, isn't it, Julia?
Yeah, surprisingly so, but true.
A rainy Tuesday here in San Francisco, and Paul Homchick has confirmed that. Andrew Pindar is confirming he's going to come on. Julia, you know what Andrew's going to do for us on the show on Friday?
No.
Well, being the important person he is as a, he's a lieutenant, I can't remember the exact title.
I know.
He's going to preview the coronation.
Yeah.
Not the christening, the coronation for us.
I remember that now.
So that's really nice.
Yeah.
We've got John Emmett. The mid-year meetings of World Sailing have now started. That is true, John. Do the other 14 folks on the train car count as listeners? Have you got us on the speaker, Rick Bannero, and the train going into New York by all means? Gordon Smith, Julia, likes your scarf.
Oh, thank you.
Co-host, Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club, the coordinating producer and more here, and my landlady, who kindly lets me have a reasonably priced apartment, which means we have a reasonably priced studio here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District. Thank you for joining us, Julia. I hope yesterday you had a fabulous May Day. Did anyone deliver flowers to your door?
Oh, yes.
I brought some up to you, but that was from over the weekend.
Yeah, that was from the weekend, right.
They were sent over by Darlene Hines. But as you all know, it was May Day, and May Day is a lot of different things, including Labor Day for much of the world, not here in the U.S. We do that at the end of early September, I should say, end of our traditional summer. But we did have, Julia, I hope you had, regardless, a happy May Day. It was not so happy in France.
No.
In fact, all of you, our friends, family, and Fozy in France, I've been speaking with a couple of you regularly, and it was a particularly ugly weekend with these May Day protests. It was yesterday, it was a cocktail day, but it wasn't the kind of cocktails we like, was it, Julia?
No.
It was Molotov cocktails in Paris yesterday. Also, since our last show, do you know who this is a clue to?
The Edmund Fitzgerald.
To whom this is a clue? You know the song The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. You know who wrote and sung it, performed it? One of my favorite artists back in the 70s.
Yes.
You remember?
I do remember.
Chris Exley's got it. He's the first one to get it.
I couldn't remember the name.
He also sang If You Could Read My Mind. Gordon Lightfoot, the famously good Canadian folk guitarist, passed away yesterday, 1938 to 2023 on May Day, May 1st, he died. And of course, he wrote, I guess one of his most famous songs certainly was The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which, you remember what that was about? What the Indians call Lake Superior? Was it Gitche Gumee or something?
Oh, the shores of Gitche Gumee.
The shores of Gitche Gumee. R.I.P. Gordon. Jeff Kitson is saying. Gordon Lightfoot, Clayton Embley's got it. Steve Gruber's got it. Everybody's got it. Jamie Hutchison, yeah, he just passed away. And his song was about that ship that sunk on Lake Superior, which is, one of the 5, or depending on how you count Lake St. Clair, 6 Great Lakes. And he was one of my favorite artists as a guitar playing crouton in
Yes.
the 70s. Did you like him?
Oh, yes, I did. And after hearing his obit today, I'm going to make a whole track of him, I think. Because
You are. You're good at that. You're good at making music. And yep, the captain of the Fitzgerald was from Ogdensburg, New York, where I grew up. Bill Haynes is saying. Bill is now normally down in southern Ohio or southern Illinois, down there in the Cincinnati area. Hi, Bill. I haven't seen you on in a while. November 10th, 1975, 735 feet. Yeah, 29 men, one monster Falosia was blowing from west to east. The ship was going from west to east, and it was a lake boat. And the ore boats on the lake are much longer because they're normally dealing with short waves. They're not out in the ocean where you get steeper,
right.
these kinds of waves. So the lake boats are different than the ocean boats. But that boat, nonetheless, it got overrun apparently by these huge swells on Lake. Tell me if I have that right, everybody. I don't know if I do. Ernest McSorley, was that the captain? Sank November 10th, 1975, as I recall. Clark Chapin would know.
Yeah.
Jonathan Frankston, Galveston. He's back home in Texas. Ernest McSorley. Well, may he rest in peace. Lake Superior. Yep, correct, J. Frederick Boomer Bland. And what was the Indian name for that? Was it Gitche Gumee? From the song? I don't remember.
From the Longfellow poem.
Was it from a Longfellow poem?
From the shores of Gitche Gumee.
Push your mic up. There you go.
To the great, yeah.
I don't remember. Somebody at Lake Superior. Guess they will have been calling out May Day. Yeah. Well, Gordon Smith, may he rest in peace, passed away yesterday after, good long life. 1938. So
it's my age.
Yes, same year you were born. Well, you're gonna outlive him by 10 or 20 years.
10 minutes.
Or 20 years. I want to say thanks to this guy. He was a terrific guest on our Friday show, Chris Poole. And this is a photo we hadn't used because it is from Oak Cliff, and it was sent this morning by Peter Taylor, our Fozy Peter Taylor, who's also a pretty good photog, as you can see. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Peter, for that. I'm not sure he's watching live. He's just back from a trip. He and his wife Sandy were in fact, they were at Cape Verde. They were in Africa, and I'm not sure where all else. But Chris was a terrific guest, and we want to also recognize the Honorable Marshall Duffy Duffield, who is from Newport Harbor Yacht Club down in Newport Beach. And the reason there's an asterisk next to Honorable, we'll tell you in a moment. But he wrote a letter to Scuttlebutt and said, nice note, he said, Chris Poole wins Congressional Cup was the article to which he was referring. And he said, I see where it is reported how nobody has ever won every race in Congressional Cup. But when I sailed with Bill Ficker in the 1974 event, we won all our races. However, we did not race nearly as many. I think they raced 24 this year. Not nearly as many races as they do now, as we went 9-0. That was one round robin. Mm-hmm. So I am very impressed with this skipper winning all those races. Great sailing, no doubt. The Honorable Marshall Duffy Duffield. Now, you know why he's the Honorable. I know him well. He comes up to the Stag Cruise often, and he's a peach of a guy. He's hilarious, and he's nice. He's the former mayor.
Okay, yeah, I remember meeting him.
Of Newport Beach. Yeah, you would have met him over at the club. We may have had him over here for the Wednesday night. You see the boats in the background there? Mm-hmm. These boats are called Duffy's, and he's the one. They're electric boats. They're all over Newport Beach.
Those guys.
They're all over Venice, the area of Long Beach, and there's even some up here in San Francisco Bay and elsewhere. San Diego, for example. Very popular electric boats that Marshall Duffield designed, and Billy's been a designer since he was a kid. Good sailor, great sailor. Bravo Zulu for that nice comment about Bill Ficker and, of course, about Chris Poole. Speaking of Ficker, Ficker was quicker, as you all know, you remember what year he won the Star Worlds and the well, it wasn't the same year, but he did win the Star Worlds, and then he went on to win the America's Cup in.
I remember.
Come on, we talk about it on the show, Julie, all the time. Come on, come on, come on. 1970, aboard Intrepid in Newport, and then the gentleman that he was, he passed away recently, but a fabulous guy, stalwart New York Yacht Club member, as well as a past Commodore of Newport Harbor Yacht Club, great sailor, an architect, a pillar of the community in Newport Beach. And here he is chairing, you recognize those gentlemen? Those are the 1983 press conferences.
Oh, yeah.
In Newport at the Armory, which is now, of course, the Sailing Museum. And that's Bill on the left, Alan Bond, the late great Alan Bond, John Bertrand, Dennis Conner, and Bill again in separate press conferences in 1983 in Newport, Rhode Island. He chaired the press conferences up until the Cup left. After he won the Cup in 70, I think he won the Star Worlds after that. I think he won them in 74 from memory. But his daughter, Dion Ficker McDonald, who we have had on the show,
right.
and her husband, Bill, Peter McDonald, great friends of ours, and Fozy, and they will send a note. They usually watch it every evening. They're real stalwarts. They watch the show every evening on Tuesday nights and Friday nights, and then I get a note from them afterwards.
How nice.
And always comment on your scarves. Steve Gruber saying a friend of mine has a Duffy 40-something. Yeah, he's recently, just in the last little bit's been doing some bigger boats. Not electric, but a really nice, very seaworthy yacht. Clayton Emily knew it was Intrepid 1970. Rob Sternstein, I haven't seen you in a while, Rob. Hey, all's been a while. Here's to kicking off San Francisco Sail GP week. I can't believe it's been a year since I was out there.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Gruber back and forth. Longfellow, I could understand. Okay, they're back and forth. The great video on the wreck is on the channel History. Check it out. Thank you, Jonathan Frank. I wonder if Jonathan Frank's Gitchy Gumi. Okay, that's what it was. Thank you, James Bland. I wonder if Jonathan Frank, Julia, has ever done a painting of the Edmund Fitzgerald obviously from a photograph, like the photograph we ran. Yeah. We can get one from him. Back to our just a little tribute here to the Honorable Duffy Duffield, and of course to Bill Ficker.
I was going to say, that's Bill Ficker.
That is Bill Ficker.
Yeah.
1927. He passed away, 6 years ago, 2017. And just a terrific guy, and we remember him well. In fact, they started to call the Ficker Cup, the Ficker is quicker, because in 1970 in Newport, that was the slogan. It was a fabulous slogan. It was on the buildings. It was on billboards. Ficker is quicker, and indeed Ficker was quicker, right? Mm-hmm. Now, Julia, what day is today? Here's your first clue.
Pirate Day.
Pirate Day. Close, but no cigar. Who is that in the middle?
Johnny.
Yeah, right, Johnny
Depp.
Greg Phillips says the Armory. Remember, Greg, he sent us, he said the Armory was a great place to visit. Remember, he got a tour, the Cook's tour, from Heather Russom, who is the executive director there, and we're going to be doing some TV work with her later in the year, as Andy Rose told us when he was on the show. The American, that museum's Hall of Fame induction for the U.S. Sailing Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that is a great museum.
But I've digressed, and Peter Peter knew I would. Back to what day is it today? There's your first clue. You need another clue? There's another clue.
Scurvy.
Exactly. Well done. I'm impressed. Pirates, and here it is. International Scurvy Awareness Day, May 2nd, 2023. And here's a video.
Scurvy Awareness Day on May 2nd is a somber reminder that while we have come a long way in the prevention and treatment of scurvy, it still exists today due to malnutrition and selective diets. It's a day to pay respects to those who endured this disease in the past and to remember those who still suffer from it today. Scurvy has a rich history, with its recognition as a life-threatening disease only coming after the deaths of millions of sailors. Thanks to the work of pioneers like James Lind, we now know that citrus fruits can prevent scurvy. As we observe International Scurvy Awareness Day, Let's not forget the importance of proper nutrition and the devastating impact of malnutrition on individuals and communities.
Now, isn't that a great story?
It is.
So I've converted our little slide that we have. That's what I do. I sail, I drink, and I know things to, and I eat citrus fruit. Okay, I'm corny. But on It's Okay, the 50 footer that I sail on with Andy Rose and some of the boys, they have a tradition. They say that it's not the vitamin C that saves the day, it's the vitamin V,
Hmm.
the vodka that you put in the orange juice
Right.
that prevents scurvy. And of course, that is called a screwdriver. It's a simple and, of course, popular alcoholic highball made with orange juice and vodka. In the UK, it's referred to as vodka and orange, or just vodka orange, what I've heard it called. While the basic drink is simply the two ingredients, there are many variations. And of course, many of the variations have different names in different parts of the world. So a screwdriver, is it the vitamin C or the vitamin V? Did I say vitamin D? Vitamin V
Yeah.
for vodka. Now, how's that? You got to have some vitamin V with your orange juice in the morning, Julie, or you get scurvy.
I know.
That's
Yeah.
the face image and the cloud behind the thicker is quicker yellow circle is eerie. Yeah, okay. Replying to Ted Ryman, doesn't that make you a pommy? That's pommy spelled wrong, Steve Weaver, isn't it?
A pom.
Jonathan has not done a painting of the Fitzgerald yet. Ryman says I'm a limey. Scurvy day. Yep, they got it. Scurvy day. Vitamin C, or is it the vitamin V? Okay, let's carry on here and get to our regular our regular A Block segment with our dear friend John Emmett, whom I've never met in person yet. We hope he comes over here, our super Fozy Olympic coach, and he checks in from the farm.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. As you can see from the background, I'm back at Imberhorn Farmhouse. Granary just behind me. Unfortunately, scaffolding's still up. I'm very pleased to have picked up Lily at the airport, and I now have my superior camera person, so hopefully you can tell. Just doing a bit of real life stuff. So I've been around the cottages, and there's sort of all these leaky roofs and all these first world problems that you have with the bad weather, but summer is definitely come. But this is a sailing show, so on with the sailing. Just back from, in fact, I was on the same flight as Elliot Hansen, who won a very, very tight ILCA 7 championships. And yes, it's such an important regatta, and it's the last major regatta next year before the Olympic Games, and it brought back a lot of memories. Nice thing about being with the ILCAs, they sailed on the first 2 days during the Mistral, and I think the last time I remember a big Mistral was 2012, and that was a really nice regatta that Lily won after coming back from injury, having a lot of time out of the boat, but spending a lot of time working on her legs and aerobic fitness. So yeah, fitness, such an important thing, and it seemed like a long time since the Mistral. And I was talking to some of the NACRA sailors, and they didn't even really foil up wind, because the first couple of days it was too windy, and the rest of the championships it was too light, whereas the ILCAs, we just went sailing, and it all boiled down to the medal race. And the interesting thing for both ILCA 6, which was won by Sarah Douglas, and ILCA 7, which was won by Elliot Hansen, it was decided not by the boats in gold and silver, it was decided by a third party. So actually what happened in both races is one of the rivals overtook somebody, and that actually cost them the gold medal. So in the sevens, Mickey Beckett, who won Palmer, has done an absolutely amazing job this season. And personally, as a Brit, it's lovely to see them close out the podium 1-2. Mickey won Palmer. He was leading the championships overall in the middle race until he got overtaken downwind by Tonchi. And also a mirror situation. So Sarah Douglas won the race. Sorry, she won the event whilst actually finishing last in the race. And Sarah won Palmer on a previous occasion. So these top people, they're always changing places. And what happened for Sarah is Anne-Marie, who's just got a whole string of titles, but current Olympic champion, got overtaken on the final downwind, and that meant that Sarah took the title. So it's right down to the wire. So anyone who says that sailing isn't a spectator sport is probably, unfortunately, somebody who doesn't really understand the sport, and we need to help educate them to that. But for me, it was really exciting. I was watching both the SAP, which was doing the live scoring, as well as the racing itself, and then I did some great interviews, although ironically the first two people I grabbed to be interviewed had been singled out for drug testing, so they had a little follower on there. And I remember being drug tested myself in my youth. Normally it happened shortly after you had been to the toilet, came ashore, and then couldn't go for quite some time. But that's a really important part of the sport as well, just about keeping it really fair. But excellent medal race. Spoken to lots of sailors over the week, and the one thing in common, they're all looking forward to having a bit of a break now. So that'll be the end of the regatta reporting for a while. Literally going to be heading back down to the south coast, and hopefully we'll join you for the show. See you soon.
John Emmett with another report. When I was doing the show notes at the top of the show,
Yeah.
I didn't know whether to say he's back on the farm or he's a review. I think I said something proper, like a review. He's a review of this Yare week and how important that regatta is. I was going to say, John telling us about the importance of not peeing before the drug test. So you've got something to show for the drug testers. Show something to give to the drug testers.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, there's back and forth. Who is Julia? There's some crouton on here. Mi nombre es Diana Lopez de España, pero actualmente vivo en Francia. She's from Spain, but living in France. She's suffered an enfermedad. She's got a sickness, cancer, and she needs, I have $350,000 in her account, Society Generale, and she needs to donate it to an honest person. Maybe she can donate it. Julia, huh? You gotta go get that money right now and get it into our account. We won't have to have any more patrons. Another crouton. Okay, well done, John. Well, Gordon Smith saying, yep, thank you very much, John. Appreciate it as well. You're reporting today and every show. John Emmett sailing, get to the front of the fleet. And he likes to say, like, follow, and share, as Julie does later in the show. And please subscribe to your own Facebook and YouTube pages if you are so inclined. Just as a coda to John's report, a little Bravo Zulu involving three of our favorite sailors. These ladies took the ILCA 6 podium. The winner was a podium, was the gold medal on the podium. And of course, that's Sarah Douglas in the middle, but Anne-Marie Rindam from Denmark, and that'll make Gordon Smith happy to see her. And I'm sure he knew that she was second, the silver medalist, and Canadian Sarah Douglas with one S. I have to remember in the graphics department, it's only one S, but she has been on the show any number of times, a handful of times anyway, and bravo Zulu to her, as well as to Casey Imenio. I think that's the proper pronunciation. So Alistair Murray and all the rest of the Aussies down there. Bravo Zulu, great job to these ladies. And it was a really tight, tough series. In fact, right down to the bitter end, they fought it out at the bottom of the medal race. Sarah ended on 74 points and Anne-Marie on 75 points, so just 1 point more. And Casey Imenio, I think she finished fourth or fifth to climb up above whoever her closest opponent was to secure the bronze. So bravo to those three. Without going into all of the other results, I'm sure you've seen them and will have been following that. And John Emmett, thanks again. Let's get to the ocean race. There, as you all know, on leg 4 from Itajaí up to Newport. They started Sunday the 23rd. The next start is in a month's time in Newport on May 21st. And today's report has this neck-and-neck race. I've been taking a screenshot of the tracker, thinking things weren't going to change much. And then a couple hours later, I go, oops, I'd better take another screenshot. I did that just before we went to air because it is so darn close and exciting. And this may happen, at least among the top 2 or 3 boats, all the way to Newport. Remember last time, the closest finish, I think,
Yes.
in the Volvo, and maybe the closest finish in a round the world race ever. Although it was pretty good going into
Yeah.
at the very end of the last Volvo. But this looks like this leg is shaping up again, as we say in Michigan, to be a real barn burner. This is from their release from the website today on Monday evening. Team Malizia led 11th hour racing across the equator as the ocean race returned to the northern hemisphere, but the margin was slim, just over 2 minutes, not miles, minutes, separated
Can you
the
imagine?
leading pair.
Yeah.
Quote, hopefully we're going to cross in first by about 200 meters, I would say, said Will Harris, who's the skipper, the acting skipper on board. Well, he is the skipper for this leg on board Malizia. It's going to be a dogfight the whole way up to Newport, I think. We've sailed down the Atlantic all the way around and back up. That's a big part of around the world done now, Will Harris is saying. We've had video of Will on the show. We've never had him live. Maybe we can get him on live at some point. And here's today's May 2nd race report. Equator showers are the best showers for Biotherm and Team Malizia. Fresh water. Will Harris?
Yes, and hopefully we're going to cross in first by about 200 meters, I'd say. 11th hour are literally just there behind us, so it's going to be a dogfight the whole way up, I think.
Team Malizia, an 11th hour racing across the equator within minutes of each other. As we have seen so often in this race, with only one way to go and similar information, the leaders end up in the same part of the ocean. Both boats have slowed down in the doldrum conditions, and this has allowed Biotherm to gain back miles. Currently, they're less than 20 miles astern.
A shot.
Environment, Team Europe have repaired their foil controls. They are performing at 100%. Disappointed, but up for a fight. Yeah, they're way back, sadly.
Strong moments, hard moments. Yeah, a lot of things happen. It's hard to be with the fleet and to be out of the fight at this moment.
Team did a good job in the second attempt. But yeah, that's sailing, that's a technical sport. Mentally it's a bit tough.
In the coming days, the fleet will enter the northeast trade winds. Speeds will increase and the lead boats will gain miles as they approach the Caribbean islands. The ocean race around the world since 1973. I wish they'd voice those reports. Have I said that before, Julia, like ad nauseum?
Yes, but you do a good job of it.
Well, I know, but I have to sit here and bring the volume, the gain down on that, push it back up, and it's,
You
I
can
want
do
to
that.
I want to relax, Julia. I don't have to work my little fingers so hard on.
Oh yeah,
over here
I
on-
do feel sorry for you.
on the mixer. I can tell you do. The ocean race since 1973, and now a video from one of the boats. Nice video. Biotherm.
C'est chaud, hein? Je m'appelle Ariou, c'est cool. Ça te plaît ou pas? Really hard after the start because a lot of clouds and the wind was really shitty. And also along the Brazilian coast with a lot of fishing boats, oil field. So yeah, many tracks, but we had some good time and some bad times, some bad moments. But at the end, it's not too bad. We are with the fleet. Biotherm 298 au 280.
On a eu des essayer de régler les tensions et les seins d'eau. À voir si ça marche maintenant.
Le pied le noir.
You see that you get under the foot of the sail when the rain's coming down, and you get a nice,
Bath.
a big, yeah, it's not just a shower, it's a bath.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Jonathan Frank. The video production of this race has been fantastic. I've been binge watching it myself, Jonathan. Agree with you. Amazing how well done the video is from these boats. Stingray saying, yeah, and how quick it is. You know, it was one thing, even the last race, you'd wait a day or two before you'd have video, maybe 3 days. Now it's pretty much instant. I mean, it's not quite instantaneous.
But almost.
They get it, they send it back to the race HQ in Spain, and then they get it out to all of us. So it's nice stuff indeed. And this is where they are now, off the coast of Brazil, north of the equator, at least. It looks like all 4 boats now are north. Is that right? You all will know better than I, but you can see the equator is this line right here, and they're outside of this restricted area, the no-go zone. And if we go look in tighter, we can see on this 11th hour, on this graphic, 11th hour racing is back in the lead. They've been trading the lead. We'll show on Clark's graphic in a moment how much they've traded the lead. Team Malizia, 12 miles, and this was about an hour and a half ago when I took this screen grab. So 12 miles back, they dropped a few miles. Biotherm is now 40 miles back, as you saw, having some problems with something. Clark had I think they continue to have a problem with their, is it Biotherm? Yeah, has dropped back some since this video report. I think they continue to have trouble with their port foil downline, Clark is saying. And then you see Guillaume's having all sorts of problems, and they're back 240 miles. And worse than that now, they're probably going to get stuck in a light air patch, and it's going to lose even more relatively to the other 3 boats because of the doldrums and so on. So here's Clark's, one of his 3 slides he sent. This is the more detailed, because you can see at the top here the lead changes since the 30th over the last couple of days. This is Malizia in the brown line, and then the red line is, of course, it is 11th hour racing. And Malizia now has dropped back a little bit. Biotherm was right up there in the hunt, and now they're down here back 40 nautical. This is the scale of the distance. This is the scale to finish, distance to finish. And on the 2nd of May, they still got 20, as of a couple hours ago, they've still got 2,900 nautical miles to Newport. And of course, Guillaume Environment has dropped right off the proverbial chart here. And we'll see how they do, but it looks like it's going to be a real dogfight, at least between Malizia and 11th hour racing going into Newport. Hopefully it is. And you can see the speeds are back up. They dip down below the kind of this mean or this average of 10 knots that they have made so far on this leg. And they're up closer to 20 knots now, 18.80 knots, Clark says. Thank you, Clark Chapin, for your charts, as always.
And I like his quote, which, I forgot who it's attributed to, but it's the trouble with, it's Carrie Fisher. The trouble with instant gratification is that it takes too long.
Carrie Fisher, the movie actress?
Must be.
Oh my goodness, Julia. The Clark said that?
Yep.
Instant gratification. Well, I don't know anything about instant gratification. I'm so patient. Huh?
Oh.
Huh?
Somebody's going to believe you.
Huh? You can shake your finger at me. I am so patient. Let's get to this day in history, Julia. You're not going to believe this one. I thought it was a good lead-in for our America's Cup report, which follows immediately after this. Do you know what happened on this day in history in 1851, the 2nd of May? This day. Here's your first clue. Who will know?
That's the
And this is a bit of a red herring, I admit it. But what happened on this day, the 2nd of May, 1851?
it was the opening of the
There's the
Crystal
Palace,
yeah, I
Hyde
was
Park.
saying Glass Palace, but it's Crystal Palace.
Yeah, about me being patient, Clark. Yeah, that's a lot of Pinocchios. Crystal Palace, Hyde Park, London, 1851. It was the opening of the Great Exhibition? No, it was not. The Great Exhibition, however, figures into this. The Great Exhibition of the Works of Industry of All Nations. You got to love the title. Also known as the Great Exhibition or the Crystal Palace Exhibition, in reference to the temporary structure in which it was held, was an international exhibition, as you all will know, that took place in Hyde Park, London from 1 May, not 2 May, to the 15th of October, 1851. It was the first in a series of World's Fairs, exhibitions of culture and industry that became popular in the 19th century. The event was organized by Henry Cole and Prince Albert, husband, of course, of Queen Victoria. So that opened on the 1st of May and ran through the 15th of October. And for extra credit, Julia, what day was the America's Cup held? What month?
on the day.
On the day. The America's Cup was not held on the 2nd of May.
No.
Still searching for what happened on the 2nd of May.
Yeah, I just remember
What day
the
was
year.
the America's Cup held?
I don't remember the day, just the year.
It was held on August 22nd, 1851. So that's not the clue either. So here we are again. Do you see the sailboats here? Look at, you see this? I thought this was kind of cool. I've never seen these pictures before. I assume they're true to life, or so whoever painted them, or it's obviously not photos. But see, there's some kind of a sailing display here, and I wonder if that was in a promotion of sorts for the upcoming America's Cup. I have no idea. Maybe somebody more erudite, maybe Andrew Pindar or Andrew McIrvin will know. And Groover's asking, is this the day, today, May 2nd, the notice of race for the AC was published? No, they're still arguing about whether to have a bet or to whether to have some kind of a race. Still. So what was the 2nd of May? It was the day after the opening day.
Okay.
Well, I could have said what happened yesterday, but that doesn't sound as good.
No.
Huh?
No.
That's not as good, Julie. So today was the day after the opening day. Now, this...
Didn't that Crystal Palace fall down?
No, they took it down. It lasted through the 15th. They took it down and then rebuilt it in down in southeast of London, or one of our Brits will know.
Yeah.
Groover is saying, boo, boo, boo. Do you have Prince Albert in a can? The druggist's answer, yes, was followed by the young prankster's response, then let him out, followed by peals of laughter.
Right.
Prince Albert in a can. I thought he was talking about another Prince Albert. Let's see about that. Boo! Yeah, this place was something special. It was from plans, look at this from Wikipedia, from plans to grand opening in just 9 months. Can you imagine that today?
Mm-mm.
And that's, they didn't have slave labor.
They'd still be filling out blanks for permits.
Well, exactly, at least here in California, San Francisco. So I did a little more research. The thing was 8 on the footprint, at least. I don't know about the mezzanine, so I'm not adding that floor space in, but it was 1,800 feet. So what is that? That's 6 football fields by 500 feet across. That's not nearly 1 million square feet. Sorry, I didn't convert all that to metric, but nearly 1 million square feet of space. And if you added in the mezzanines, I'm sure it gets up to that easily. This was the opening day, the day before. On May 1st, the Queen Victoria was there to do it. And notably, this was not the first such World's Fair or big international fair pushing one's country's products and technology. That precursor took place in France and perhaps other countries as well, back to Roman and Greek times, who knows. But 1798 and Chinese times, 1798 to 1849 was a big exhibition in France. So, and that was 50 plus years. But it was, however, the first international event of this type. There were over 13,000 exhibits with 100,000 objects from 50 countries, I might add, half from Britain and its empire and half from, quote, foreign states. This coming together of nations including fairly recent historical adversaries, as the Brits would say, or at least Sean Connery would say, adversaries, as we might say, such as France, Russia, and the United States, would have been the first time a majority of the attendees experienced another culture in a context unrelated to, war.
I think that's fabulous.
So isn't that cool? So the reason I make a bit of a deal of that is because I think that puts even more in context of the America's Cup, because remember, that was the first time that, as far as anybody knows, that there was an international yacht race. It wasn't just open to members of the Royal Yacht Squadron. It was open to yachts of clubs from the nations of the world, foreign nations. So I think that ties this together in some ways that I didn't quite understand. This whole great exhibition must have gotten everybody fired up, not the least of whom was Queen Vic and Albert, who helped get the America's Cup going in the Royal Yacht Squadron. And hey, we're having this exhibition, we better have an international yacht race as well, which, we've said that before anecdotally, but it must be quite true. Now, do you know what the most popular exhibitions were? According to Wikipedia and others, some of the most popular items were the Koh-i-Noor diamond. Is that how you pronounce that?
Koh-i-Noor, yeah.
Koh-i-Noor? You know that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you try to buy it?
No.
Which at the time was the largest ever found. Frederick Bakewell's facsimile device, i.e. a precursor to the fax machine. I wonder what that was all about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is before telegraphy, right? Or at the same time. Robert Stephenson's hydraulic press for building bridges. I remember some notes about that. And this pictured 16-foot long trophy telescope, some guy named Ross. However, apparently, the most popular attraction was, do you know? Here's your first clue.
The blue painted china.
No,
No.
I wouldn't drink out of that, I don't think.
Oh yes.
That is what they called, originally, the monkey closet.
Mm.
At the Great let's see if anybody's got, Ryman's got it. Oh, Ryman's quick. Toilet, he says. Yes. Mechanical elephant, Gordon Smith is asking. It's a crapper. Graham Sweeney would say, it's a crapper. They wanted the U.S. to send over an example of its pilot boats, which were famous for being the fastest. Yes, Bill Wingrove, that is true. I seem to think the profits from the exhibition went to building the Royal Albert Hall, but I could be mistaken, Gordon Smith. Well, you'll have to research that for us. Indeed, this was a toilet, the monkey closet, and at the Great, get this, I had no idea. First I've heard of this when I was putting this together last night. At the Great Exhibition at Hyde Park, held from 1 May to 15 October, as you now know, George Jennings, not Thomas Crapper, who's a real guy, George Jennings installed his monkey closets in I'd never heard them called retiring rooms.
Oh, yes.
Restrooms. Had you heard them called retiring rooms?
Yep.
You knew that?
Yep.
Okay, well, see, that's why you went to
It's
Stanford.
English. No.
Retiring rooms of the Crystal Palace. These were the first public toilets, and they caused great excitement. During the exhibition, 827,000 plus visitors paid 1 penny to use them. For the penny, they got a clean seat, a toilet, a comb.
A towel.
A towel, thank you. What did I say?
Toilet.
Oh,
They got that too.
Thank you. Yeah, they got that. A clean seat, a towel, thank you, Julia, a comb, and a shoe shine. Quote, to spend a penny, unquote, became a euphemism for going to the toilet.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. To spend a penny. I mean, what can you learn on Sailing Illustrated about things of moral and social significance, Julia?
Yes.
This is important stuff.
It is.
The monkey closets. And moreover, Thomas Crapper, often mistakenly credited with inventing the flush toilet, was only 14 years old at this point. So that's what happened on this day in history. It was day 2 of the Great Exhibition of 1851. Yeah, they took it down and rebuilt it, and then it burned to the ground.
Yeah, I remember it being destroyed.
Peter Stevenson, Pedro Fleming Sailor, saying, down under, we call it the Thunderbox.
Oh.
Gordon Smith has checked it, and he said, indeed, profits for the Great Exhibition paid for the Royal Albert Hall. How nice. Thunderbox. Crapper Illustrated. James Blunt. It's a sewage show, sailing with a problem. We're a sewage show with a sailing problem.
Oh.
Shake your finger
Oh.
at Jonathan Frank, whose beautiful painting is right above your right shoulder, Julia.
That's true.
This all makes me, what? What's that mean? Anhygroscopic. Did Prince Albert and Thomas Crapper also have big ears that stick out sideways? I think.
And hydro.
Huh?
And hydros.
Hydrogros. I don't know. This is getting way too. We're off on the corner here.
Yes, talk about going off
On a tangent. It's not me. It's our Fozy, Julie, who are going off on the tangent. Welcome. If you just joined us for 48 minutes into the show, Tuesday, the 2nd of May, the day after the show, the Great Exhibition opened in 1850. You know, I could go the day ahead because I say, well, we got everybody watching Down Under where it's tomorrow, or it's the next day to us. So I've never gone the day before, though, because it just seemed like, well, what happened on this day was yesterday. Well, that doesn't seem right. So I know. I admit it. I'm a crouton. Was this decision we talked about on Friday's show, was this the worst venue choice ever? Question I asked in the show notes. And a lot of people are asking that as well, because as you know, probably, those of you who are at least with us, and you probably read it in the meantime, at Jeddah Yacht Club and Marina in the KSA, that's the Olympic code for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the second AC-37 preliminary regatta will be held on the waters of the Red Sea in Jeddah. It was announced last Friday. Interesting, they announced it on Friday, which is Saturday in New Zealand. So they made this announcement on the weekend. And if you're going to make an announcement you want to have buried, you make it on a Friday, or even worse, on the weekend, which obviously was the intent, because this is not a popular decision. It's getting widely panned, not just by the Fozy who were on here and by others, but it's a lot of people are not amused. The yacht, including, I now know firsthand the teams, or some of the teams at least, not all. I haven't talked to all of them. Jeddah Yacht Club is the ostensible host. It's really just a marina. The second preliminary regatta, the 37th America's Cup, will be held from the 30th of November to the 3rd of December, the only venue outside of Spain to host an America's Cup regatta during the upcoming, the 37th cycle. And Daniel Groon's disagreeing with me, saying, no, it wasn't. You need to get away from your traditional things, Tom. Okay. There's some back and forth on the Koh-i-Noor diamond, which, okay, we'll let that go. But let's get back to our topic here at hand. Now, we had our Fozy, Graham Sweeney from Yell, Scotland, GBR, had a long comment about this, and I ran it on Friday's show. Bottom line of which, the America's Cup is $1 million cockfight that has devolved, he says, into a 2-cent turkey shoot. And there are a lot of people who sadly agree with him. Online, on Sailing Anarchy's forum and elsewhere, it's being called the Jamal Khashoggi Memorial Cup. He, the Washington Post journalist, the Saudi, who was lured to their Saudi Arabia, allegedly. I mean, I wasn't there, but by all accounts, was cut up, was killed, and then cut up in pieces with saws and whatever, and then shipped out of the embassy in Turkey, the Saudi embassy, to disguise the body. So it's not amusing. Now, one person who's not amused is this gentleman, our Fozy. He's been on the show a number of times, and no longer QC, but now the KC, the King's Counsel, the famously good barrister in New Zealand, Jim Farmer. And he wrote over the weekend, I think it appeared yesterday, Monday, in the New Zealand Herald. So Jeddah, Saudi Spectacle was the headline. So Jeddah, it was a letter to the editor. So Jeddah has been chosen to host the second preliminary America's Cup regatta, Jim wrote. And he went on to say, later this year. Grant Dalton claims this will enhance the reputation of the America's Cup and provide a great spectacle. He could have added, spectators will be able to attend regular public executions, 81 in one day last year. Their attendance, that means spectators, will also provide support for Saudi's sport washing program designed to cover up what is probably the worst human rights record in the modern world, with women having virtually no rights, to say nothing of what they do to gay people and non-Saudis. If they have any, that was my editorial comment. If they have any concern for this country's reputation, Team New Zealand and the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron should remove New Zealand from their name, signed Jim Farmer in Parnell, which is, of course, a beautiful suburb of Auckland.
Tough.
I couldn't agree with him more, Julia. I don't know how you feel. How do you feel?
I think that's a big step, and I think it should have consequences, but I'm not sure that's what would be my first choice.
Now, do you know how much they paid? One hears they paid not $6 million, 6 million euros as the venue fee. They were prepared to pay over 100 million euros to have the entire cup in Saudi Arabia. But as you know, that was decision. The idea of running the cup there was so unpopular that that teams wouldn't have backed out or wouldn't have challenged and so on. So Paul Homchick is saying, well, let's back up to Bill Wingrove. What does the bankrupt Defending Yacht Club think of this venue selection, or do they not have much to say? They don't have anything to say over it, Bill Wingrove, sadly. Paul Homchick, the current AC has become a money-grubbing embarrassment. Clayton Embley saying, well said, Jim Farmer. Daniel Gruen disagrees. He thinks Jim Farmer is a dog. Clark Chavin, worst human rights record, if not the worst, at least a podium finish. Thank you, Clark. Good point. Will the losing skipper actually get his... I don't think that's going to happen, Clayton, but it is disgusting. Shameful racing. Yarvahe is agreeing. Hi, Yarline. Nice to see you on. Shameful that they're racing in KSA. And who else? Now, Andrew is saying he differs, and he does work there, and he knows the culture and the people.
Yes.
Well, I have to differ. We ran a fabulous sailing program there a year ago from 2 months with everything from Moss to 69Fs, flying 69s, to Volvo Ocean Race yachts. The sailing conditions were great, and the local people were very welcoming and engaged. Women made up around 40% of the participants. Thank you for that, Andrew. I think Andrew's going to be on the show on Friday. Maybe we'll talk some more about this. Daniel Gruen disagrees. He agrees with Andrew, and he disagrees with Jim Farmer. Crutonic Jim Farmer wanted the RYS Royal Yacht Squadron replaced as COR. I'm not sure that's true, Daniel. Julie Aarons, this was an inevitability from the start. I don't know why anybody is surprised. Well, that's a good point.
Yes.
That's a good point, Julie. Jonathan Frank, surprised Daltz didn't go to Hungary with his TV connections. Oh, that's a good one. The issue has gained absolutely zero traction here in New Zealand. I hear that Peter Salmon released over the weekend, and I hear it really has not gained any traction there to speak of. As they call it in New Zealand, talkback radio, which is very popular. Talkback radio in New Zealand, and a lot of people get on and pontificate and articulate and so on. But I'm sorry, I disagree with Andrew, and I disagree respectfully with anyone else who's Daniel Gruen, anyone else of that same bet. I think going to Saudi Arabia is a big mistake. I think the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron should be ashamed. There's lots of other places to go to get money, venue fees, without creating this kind of controversy. I'm sure, big picture, long term. I'm not sure. I hope big picture, long term. The entire Middle East, and I spent a lot of time in Dubai. I know Dubai and Bahrain a little bit, but I think we're a long ways from that. And I think running this race there is just an abomination. I'm sorry to say it, and I respectfully disagree with those of you who feel otherwise. But you may be right, and I could be wrong. It won't be the first time. As I said to one of you this morning, often in error, but never in doubt. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I can say that about you too, Julia.
Absolutely.
Right? I think the RNZ should be ashamed. And I think they obviously have no control over this. The event is going to Jeddah, and we'll see how it all plays out. Probably be fine, probably be an okay event, but I think the signal it sends is simply not correct. The second AC preliminary regatta will be held in Jeddah the 30th of November through the 3rd of December. And any final comments? $6 million, a small price to pay for the kudos for sporting tourism. Graham Sweeney is saying, I wonder if Hitler would have gotten away with that. Farmer collaborated with Hamish. Now, Daniel, I'm not going to argue with about this. I don't think that is true. In fact, I'm pretty sure it wasn't. What is the penalty if AM or LR refuse to go? I don't know, Stingray. I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. Joe Holtzman apparently totally agrees with me. The whole of the AC as it is run now is an abomination. Well, I wouldn't go that far, Bill Wingrove, but Alistair Murray chiming in, president of the Australian Sailing Federation, or what is now Sailing Australia, or Australian Sailing, I guess. Going anywhere at all outside New Zealand for any of it is the big mistake, including Barcelona. Totally agree.
Yeah,
Alistair.
I do too.
You agree, Julia?
Absolutely.
And the Saudis gave us the finger when oil market got tight. Yar Vahe is saying, yes, Yar. James Frederick Bland, does the RNZ still exist? Yeah, they still exist. They're going to sort out their financial problems. Looking forward to Sail GP, just about the sailing. We're going to get to that, John, John Emmett. But first, after we get off Jeddah, I am going to run a positive story about the America's Cup, which is and they've released, I've gone onto their website, that is Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. They've released several of these videos about the ocean and about our responsibility for cleaning up and maintaining the oceans, taking good care of them. And this is their latest, just out this morning, 40 seconds. And I challenge you to find an America's Cup team that releases better, punchier. Okay, there's a bit of virtue signaling here, but so what? Cool videos. From LRPP.
The ocean, in all its different shapes and forms. It's the mother of all life. Relentless and wild, yet quiet, calming, and nourishing. A purifier of thoughts. But without the ocean, there is no us. So let's work together, because together we can make waves.
"45 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It made a big impression on me.
Yeah, beautiful.
What do you think?
Absolutely.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Mm.
Okay, before we get, we're still on social issues here, but it is directly sailing related, and I got to give you an update from what we discussed on Friday. A lot of you are concerned about it, and that is the so-called Dear Men of the Sailing World letter that showed up in Scuttlebutt last week. I won't reprise the letter, except that it was an anonymous story, and it was about the lady who sailed in the Etchells, what was it? Worlds in Miami, and she says, and I have no reason to doubt her, except she signed it anonymously and didn't name names. I understand it's a tough issue. We discussed this on Friday. So we're waiting for the Etchells class, which has launched an investigation. Alistair Murray down under has already discussed it with his board and saying, hey, we don't know what really went on yet, but we in Australia are going to be proactive. Alistair and his board are going to talk to the state federations. Each state in Australia has their own sailing federations. And we're going to message this. He says we're going to run this up the flagpole and say, look, we know what happens. That is that women get harassed at sailing events, and this can't continue. It happens at other events. It happens, wherever else. And yeah, some of us don't like the fact that this was an anonymous letter, but nonetheless, we should message this and, take appropriate steps when and where we can to remind men and to remind other men. And sometimes men are harassed too. I mean, it's not only women, but mostly women. Well, here's the latest development. Now we get another letter published yesterday, anonymous letter in Scuttlebutt, and the editor, Craig Lewick, pushes back a little bit. He said, well, the author wasn't anonymous to us, he says there in the first sentence. While the commentary may have benefited from her name, the internet is not always a kind place. I'm not going to comment. Sailing is our recreation, our escape, and it was best to focus on the topic rather, I think he meant, he didn't say it, but rather than the author. Okay, fair enough. And we've all said that on here. I've had long discussions with Rick Bannerow by email back and forth, Alistair Murray, and with Julia. I had a nice letter overnight from two Australians. I guess I won't name you yet, but although Peter Stevenson said I could mention him in this context, he said he'd love to be on a panel. If we have a Zoom panel and a discussion of this, he's done some work in a nonprofit that he's involved with, and I'm sure there's others of you as well. However, I haven't had an outpouring of, hey, we ought to really delve into this issue. But there's something a little more interesting, if not disturbing, now that's happened with this letter published, again, the second letter published in Scuttlebutt yesterday. There is now a new organization already on the internet, already with a website called sailsafe.org. Anonymous. No mention of who it is, no mention of a board of directors, no mention of nada except how to donate to them. Sailsafe.org. Everyone who participates in sailing has the right to a positive and enjoyable experience. We all agree with that, in a safe environment. The mission statement of this new organization, everyone who participates in sailing, I just said that, our goal is to help sailors and sailing organizations develop processes and procedures. What? Processes and procedures by becoming a platform for resources and reporting. Well, what is Australian sailing about? What is U.S. sailing about? What is world sailing about? There is already this massive thing in this country called Safe Sport, which is for doing exactly this kind of thing, and there's a big bureaucracy attached to it, and I think a good bureaucracy, by the way. Clark Chapin knows a lot about this, he being involved quite heavily in U.S. sailing. But here's somebody now out setting up another organization, anonymously, called SafeSail.org, and as Bill Wingrove is saying in the comments, the key is no real details, just donate money. So if you go on their GoFundMe campaign, which I did, of course, originally, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, those of you who've been following it, originally the goal was to raise $5,000. Well, that was yesterday, or the day before. Yesterday, in fact. Today, the goal is now $7,500, of which they've apparently raised $5,200, and they've listed the 23 people who've donated, including the most recent, the top donation of $1,500, and the first donation of $500. So, I wouldn't donate money to an anonymous foundation. They don't have a 501c3, which is our charitable nonprofit status here in the U.S. yet. They say that it's been applied for, but something does not meet the smell test so far. So I am asking your guidance, talking with Julia here, and with Alistair and Rick Bannerow. And thanks again to Alistair and Rick, who've been terrific. We're going to park this until we see what the Etchells class does. We'll see where this anonymous stuff goes. And when we know who it is, and again, I understand why she doesn't want to name names. Leave that to the Etchells class and their investigation. But if I'm going to run this up the flagpole and champion any cause, including that I don't like Saudi Arabia as an America's Cup venue, I'm going to put my name to it. I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to respect your and solicit contrary views. And I don't like this anonymous stuff. And it's getting more anonymous, or there's more stuff going on under this equal cloud of anonymity. Is that the right word, Julia?
Yeah, and it's not clear to me what they're going to do with the money.
Well, exactly. I mean, they're going to start up processes and procedures.
Oh, gosh.
So I don't know how you all feel, but again, it's a real issue, and this kind of stuff just makes us all throw our hands up in the air, a lot of us. And I agree very much, and I salute Alistair Murray for what he's doing in Australia, and we are going to do it here in our local sphere of influence, right, Julia?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to say, hey, we're going to do it on this show. Hey, this is a problem, and not just this anonymous letter. We all know it's a problem. It's not a huge problem, probably, but as Bill Wingrave said, no real details, just donate money.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Gruber, I am looking at this as an essay on the state of affairs that exists for women in sailing. There is no doubt in my mind that there's a problem not only in sailing, but in society in general. Agree, Steve. I think we all agree.
Mm-hmm.
Clark Chabon, I think it's always a good idea to not be the first ones to donate to a freshly announced cause. Thank you, Clark. Now, see, Pindar, who's heavily involved in this and doing cool stuff with the Magenta Project, is saying the World Sailing Trust and the Magenta Project are all working all over the place, helping address discrimination, access, diversity, and inclusion.
And he's right.
And he's absolutely right. And so are the national federations, and so are clubs,
Mm-hmm.
right? So are so are shows like ours, and you know, I recognize what Craig Lewick and Scuttlebutt are wanting to do. And if you go on, and worse than that, you go on Sailing Anarchy, I won't even bore you with that. They just, Julia, that whole thread in the forums, typically it devolves into a gurgler and people calling each other misogynist and sexist and pigs, and the topic gets off to who allows open carry of guns in your yacht clubs. I mean, you think we go off on tangents here, but
Yeah.
bloody hell. Graham Sweeney, as yet, I don't trust anyone who cannot put their name to a letter. It seems a lot of drama with very little facts. Trust the governing bodies. Let them deal with it. Let's not have a witch hunt. Once again, Graham Sweeney has summed it up for me, Julia. Huh?
Yeah, it's
Better than I can sum it up. I think we should put Graham Sweeney in charge of the show. Maybe we'll have a guest host, send him a little kit of stuff, and he can live stream from Yell if his internet's good enough.
right.
And he can be our guest host in Yell, Scotland, halfway around the, well, not quite halfway, but 9 time zones, or 8 time zones anyway, isn't it? Okay, now Sail GP, a lot of you have been waiting for. I didn't mean to put this down later in the show. It's in the C block. And Julie Aarons, I'm going to go back to that. Alistair Murray, neat comment here. We support the need to spread the message. Absolutely. And we will, but I too don't like this development. Julie Aarons, you don't need new organizations. You just need to utilize what's already in place.
Amen.
And Ted Ryman is saying that Ted Ryman is saying that Sweeney is busy chasing Russians. He got all those Russian trawlers up there checking
yeah.
on their internet connections.
Yeah.
Sail Grand Prix this weekend. We're excited about it. A lot of you are too. Tom, who was it, Julia? Tom Pace?
Yes.
Commodore Tom Pace, Pensacola Yacht Club.
Yep.
Or maybe he's the immediate past Commodore by now, is going to be here, and some number of others of you are as well. If you are, let us know. I'll be doing commentary Saturday and Sunday at St. Francis Yacht Club for Within the Club. And it's going to be, I think, a cool event. The grand final for season 3, 9 teams, 9 nations, and the top 2 teams on the leaderboard, and probably, although not certainly, the Australians are through and the Kiwis are probably through. You know, anybody can be disqualified from the regatta, but Tom Slingsby and co. are on top with 84 points going into this regatta after this season. How many events have there been? Somebody will know. 73 points, 11 points back are the Kiwis, Pete Burling's team. Terrific team. They've been coming on. So too has France. Quentin Delapierre's French Sail GP team on 69 points, just 1 point ahead of Sir Ben. So that's looking like the exciting place to watch is who's going to be the third team that goes into that winner-take-all 3 teams finale, grand finale on Sunday. 3 races Saturday, fleet races, everybody know, 2 fleet races Sunday morning, and then at the end of that, they add up the points, and they add up those to the season points, and the top 3 teams go into a winner-take-all $1 million prize race, the sixth and final race of this weekend in San Francisco. Here's the video previewing the event.
Welcome to the Mubadalo United States Sail Grand Prix. It's grand final weekend.
It was crazy. It was just sort of keep thinking on the fly. The wind started doing funky things. We just sort of tried to keep our heads, said, look, we're going to be thrown a lot of challenges today and we just got to be able to adapt to them. The final race came and we got a great start. The other two fell off the foils and we got to a big lead and were able to win. We've been in $2 million races now and hopefully that'll be a factor in this year's.
Looking at the last race, I'm still not quite sure what we could have done to avoid the situation any differently. The French went from crossing a bit of a snuff and then decided to take their transom after we were committed. It's one that we'll always probably not agree quite with the umpires on, but you got to play on and just get on with it.
Yeah, there was a whale that stopped the final from happening. We had some other stuff going on at that moment.
Oh, there's a collision on board the American boat and the Spanish boat. Oh my lord!
Yeah, that situation was actually a very hard one because we were coming super fast. I think we didn't get the overlap by nothing. And we're doing 40-something knots. And yeah, we obviously didn't judge it correctly. We tried to fit the boat in a very small gap. We got a bit out of control and hit the Americans. Luckily, they could do the final.
I mean, I have to put France for sure. Yeah, Aussies, Kiwis and France.
The favourites, ourselves, New Zealand and GBR.
I think Aussies and Kiwis look quite solid. I'd go for France in the third spot.
Kiwis, Aussies and British.
The Aussies, barring something major happening, I definitely back ourselves to get through as you always would. But between the other three, I think it's kind of anyone's game.
Yeah, I've got to back us for sure. Yeah, of course the Aussies, and then I'll go with the Kiwis.
There it is. It's kind of a strange ending. Kind of a strange video in some ways, but I like the content. I like the fact they're getting these opinions from everybody, and people are giving the opinions, Julia,
which is good.
Which is good. So we have to ask all of you now. I got a little more, just a little more background here before you start making your. But hell, everybody's chiming in already. Besides talking about Russians and Russian spy boats, and if you believe Scuttlebutt, the woman put her name to the letter, and they chose. No, that's not true, Steve. She asked it to be published anonymously. But I think Craig knew who it was. Jody says, yes, I can't wait for that is this weekend. Don Lunabos, greetings from Sonoma. Somebody check windy.com or something, because I haven't checked the weather. I should have done that. I will do everything Tom Slingsby doesn't. What, Daniel Green? I will do everything Tom Slingsby doesn't win. Put him out. Oh, Daniel's cheering against Tom Slingsby. Stingray saying GBR versus France could get interesting hunting-wise. Yeah, I think you're right, Stingray. Gordon Smith, one of GBR Canada or Denmark, could make my day and reach the final. How do they split up the winnings? That's up to the captain of each team or the owner of the team. Get the $1 million. And more, Pindar's got more on here. We'll talk to Andrew about this topic on Friday if he's willing, when he's coming on to talk about the coronation. Clayton Embley, I think I watched the results of the 77 Cup on the same TV. Iconic venue, perfect. Yes, it is reliably windy and iconically beautiful, right, Julia?
Absolutely.
Huh?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we got a couple more slides here. It's hard to imagine Pete Burling won't get in it, but something could happen. Here's Pete and Tom at the Plymouth in GBR press conference in the so-called mixed zone. Hard to imagine that those two won't be two of the three boats, but again, anything can happen. Mathematically, Tom is in, short of getting disqualified from the whole series for doing something really bad, but that's not going to happen. The French are a nice article today on the website. We are excited and absolutely not afraid. French coach Terry Douillard, how do you say that, Julia, in French? D-O-U-I-L, Douillard, looks ahead to San Francisco showdown. Now, it's up there in that big white box on your monitor. How do you pronounce D-O-U-I-L-L-A-R-D? We're probably going to need that. Douillard? Close enough?
Yeah, I guess so.
You're the
I didn't see it.
You're
Yeah.
the francophone on here, Julia.
Oh, yes, I am.
Is that close enough? Douillard. Somebody will tell us.
Yeah, Douillard.
Yeah. Julie Aaron says, never count Slingsby out ever. Big mistake. And Daniel doesn't want him to win because he's already won 2, which is true. Can he three-peat? We asked that on Friday's show. So the French, the coach is not afraid, and I'm sure they're not, ahead of France's showdown with Emirates Team GBR coach Terry Douillard. Forgive me if that's wrong. Debriefs the season so far and explains why the team is absolutely not afraid to beat Sir Ben Ainsley's crew on the battlefield. France raised eyebrows at the start of Season 3 when the team announced its intention to secure a spot in the 3-boat winner-takes-all grand final in San Francisco. It was quite an ambition for the young team, especially since Quentin Delapierre had just 3 events under his belt as driver, resulting in an 877 race record. That was prior to the season. But 10 events later, with just the season finale to go, the French are exactly where they said they'd be, in 3rd position overall and in prime position to enter the championship deciding shootout. Now, these 2 teams have had some other shootouts. Watch the start of this race in New Zealand, for
Britain are
example.
controlling things well. Will the Spanish load it up and come charging in at the top of the line? Here they go. That's a great start by Australia, but look, left of screen, Great Britain and France in that battle for the final. Ainsley went really aggressive at the French, tried to put a penalty on them, but what he's done is put himself at the back of the fleet. Now,
you see that?
Mm-hmm.
What Ainsley has done, he tried to get, Jimmy Spithill, who's had not a great season, lying 7th currently, but the Brits tried to get a penalty on France. This was in New Zealand, at the down in Wellington, right? Or Christchurch. I keep saying Wellington. It's in Christchurch. But you see, he ended up screwing the pooch here, trying to get a penalty on France. And this is going to be interesting. I think it will be a dogfight between the two of them. There'll be some match racing and so on here as we go on. Some of you think Ben will prevail. Will he be in the top 3? Will Sir Ben and his Emirates GBR team make it into the top 3, or will it be the French, or possibly could it be somebody else? Not likely. Not likely. Now, what about Jimmy? What about the Americans? They've had not such a good series. Team USA, can Jimmy and co climb from 7th, where they now sit, up to 5th? You can see they're on 57 points, behind newbies Canada and Denmark. 59 that Phil Robertson has the Canadians on, and Nikolai Sehested is on 60 points. And I think that's got to be Jimmy's goal, is to get to 5th overall behind Sir Ben and finish a respectable at least 5th. Get ahead of those other 2 teams this weekend. He says in this quote, "The wind is big, the waves are cold, and the racing favors those who take risks." Not sure that's true. I think maybe the racing favors those who are more conservative, but this is his quote. "There's a reason San Francisco Bay is at the top of our list for favorite race courses of the season. Add to that the incredible San Francisco fans with the backdrop of the Golden Gate Bridge and Alcatraz. Nowhere else comes close." Jimmy Spithill. Julia, that's your, iconically beautiful, reliably windy, iconically beautiful quote in a different way.
Right. And of course it's true.
And of course it is true. I have one more photo here of Jimmy, and this is the up close and personal. Talk about grandstand viewing. I'm not sure this is here in San Francisco, but it does look like this if you're on the grandstands on the so-called Yacht Club Peninsula between St. Francis and Golden Gate.
Mm-hmm.
They have with them on that boat a strategist who is one of the best sailors in this country, Erica Reinecke, from Florida, from Fort Lauderdale, and she's the USA strategist, and they featured her in a video a couple days ago, and I thought it was worth playing now.
My name's Erica Reinecke, and I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I first went sailing out of the Fort Lauderdale Yacht Club. I was probably about 8 years old in the Green Fleet in an Optimist, and it was terrifying. My parents just signed me up for the summer camp program. They joined a yacht club. They don't sail, and they thought it looked really cool, so they signed me up, and then I just started going out with all the kids and having fun, swimming, capsizing boats, and yeah. I think that the answers are always out there, and like just not getting frustrated when things aren't going your way. Like there's always a way to improve, and there's always answers. Oh gosh, well the first Opti, I guess I kind of owned it. My parents bought it for me, but my first Opti was named Moose because I was obsessed with this store called Abercrombie & Fitch back in the day, which is like super American. So I just had like a fat moose on my boat. Probably just being a sailing instructor, working with like little kids. Once I became a teenager, I started helping little kids out and wanted them to have a similar experience that I did. Obviously, Lake Garda, Italy is my absolute favorite. You can cycle, sail. There's so many things to do there. I'm a window kind of person. Honestly, Saint-Tropez looked pretty perfect to me, even though there was like some carnage and it looked gnarly, but it looked pretty awesome. I think I look up to one of the guys on the Australian boat, Kinley Fowler. He's a really good sailor, and I like how he approaches the sport. He's very modest, and he's always available to come to with questions, and it's extremely helpful. I think I see myself still sailing, which my parents aren't going to be thrilled to hear me say because they don't sail and they want me to get a real job. Just see how far I can go and hopefully represent my country the best I can.
Okay, I'm futzing around here. I'm going to get you the wind forecast. Julia?
I have it.
You have it?
Yeah, but it's
I've got it here. Just hang on.
Windy.
Here. You got it windy? What's it say?
It's low.
Paul Homchick says it's light. What does it say on your iPhone?
8 miles per hour at 10 o'clock Saturday morning.
Okay, so I've got, I just dialed up the windy.com here on one of my monitors. And this is Sunday at 4 p.m. Yeah, it looks pretty bloody light.
Yeah.
It looks kind of 5 to 10-ish across the bay. I can zoom this in with a little help from our friends here. That is my mouse. I don't need Berkeley. What am I doing here? Okay,
that's a good picture.
Yeah, but the wind. I want the wind
from the west.
There we go. It's looking light. On Saturday, it's looking a little breezier. You got some green in there, so maybe there's some good sea breeze on Saturday. 12 a.m., 2 a.m., 8 a.m., 6 p.m., 4 p.m., 3 p.m. Yeah, it's looking light-ish. Okay. Well, we'll see. If any other of you have more insight than that. That is the race course. It's right off, as we said, right off. This is the Yacht Club Peninsula here, SailGP Race Village. St. Francis is right about here. Golden Gate is right about here. In fact, just a little bit beyond that. And the grandstands are on this little black area right here looking out on the finish line. So they go around the speed mark. You're used to this by now, the big broad reach and the wind coming from the left to right, from the west to east, normally. Go down through a gate, come back up to the gate, and maybe 1 or 2 laps, depending upon how much breeze and so on. And then finally turning the speed mark again and coming here into the finish If you've got your own boat, you're down here, and if you're on the VIP boats, the adrenaline yachts, you are out there. So we'll see how it goes. A couple other notes. That is that the weekend schedule, there's plenty of other things going on besides just the racing. The Sail GP Stadium has action in it, they say, from 1:30 to 5:30. They got the Inspire program. Is that what it's called? Inspire program. Race times are from 2:30 to 4, both Saturday and Sunday, with those 6 races, 3 in each of those hour-and-a-half slots. And other action outside of that from 1:30 to 5:30, also both Saturday and Sunday. And Julie, I know we're looking forward to it.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Any other comments here that we should be looking at apropos all this? Just back on the French team here, Andrew Pindar's made a good point. The strategic coach and leader, so the French team is the man who managed the winning Dongfang entry in the Volvo Ocean Race, Bruno Dubois. The progress of this team is no accident. The French, arguably, we talk about the Kiwis and the Aussies and 1 or 2 other countries that are really good. The Danes, the Dutch, the Brits, of course, but arguably France is the best sailing country. They did very well in this race this year. I think they won the top, the most medals, the medal count at the year at the Olympic week last week. But Bruno Dubois and all the offshore racing that goes on and the Sail GP team climbing up the ladder, it's impressive. And Gruber saying it may not be as windy as hoped, but at least it will still be iconically beautiful. Light winds and ebb tide. Don Lunabos, thank you. Nice sailing. Ebb tides in the afternoon both days. It's under 10 knots during a race. I win the bet with Russell. Did you bet with Russell, Jody, about the breeze? Yeah, it has been, as you know, Julia, it's been a bloody, windy spring.
Yeah.
In fact, we can sit here in the studio, and it's it's a little overcast today and not much breeze today. We can sit here in the studio and hear the bridge singing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they've been working for 3 years to try to get the bridge because the harmonics are obviously not good for the structure of the bridge. But it sings loud, and it's been singing all spring.
Yeah.
And particularly this week. And now it looks like it's going to go light this weekend. Jimmy this is Julie Aarons, had not been too successful in Sail GP. I don't know why. Common sense would expect him. Yes, I agree, Julie. Would expect him to do better. He's not my favorite why not? Not my favorite for obvious reasons. I think probably Pete Burling is. But I am very surprised. Daniel Green, Erica Reinecke looks like a 20-year-old in that video. She is a young, fit, bright, very good sailor. Whoever wins, Gordon Smith says. Jody Shields and Russell Coots bet I want to see the video of the payout. Jimmy S., you have a bridge in an island. Where is your opera house? Peter Foiling Sailor talking about Aussie, at least born and bred.
It's there.
But his mom, Jimmy's mom, is an American. He's got an American passport.
Yeah.
As long as the weekend doesn't get decided by boat damage, etc. Well, remember last year's of John Emmett, the thing was delayed. There was a whale wasn't there a whale on the race course?
Yeah,
and the air was
stopped in
light.
the middle of the first leg of the race.
It was, what is that in kilometers per hour? Jonathan Frank. Bring it on. Yeah, we got drivers and I guess, I don't know if they're going to do KPH or if they're going to do miles per hour. All garbage, Tom. Predict wind is best. Daniel Gruen is as Harry Anderson, the late great Commodore Harry Anderson would have said, he today seems to be contrary-minded on a number of topics.
Oh, I miss him.
Please, are you coming down here, Stingray? Please let there be a decent breeze. He's a poet and doesn't know it. Yeah, I agree, Clayton Embley. I think France they may be the third place team. If I had to just make an outrageous guess, and I don't normally, but I will guess, Julia.
Yes.
I'll put my money on France staying on third and that Sir Ben won't get through. But
you said that earlier on.
Yeah, I like what France has been doing, and I agree with Andrew Pindar that Bruno Dubois and Co. have got that team tuned up. Right?
Right. Well, we'll see.
Sail GP this weekend. I like this. I use this on the cover photo of the show, the very one. It's also in the show, the slide that I drop in between segments, and I love that shot of the bridge. Gets us to the last leg. What time is it? It's 14:31 here. We're an hour and 31 minutes into the show. And it's time, those of you in CET in Barcelona, it's 11:30, time for you to go to dinner. The last leg. And that is a Fozy Focus. And I have just one slide. I want to get him on the show when we have a breather, because I like what he's done. You all like what he's done. This show is about cool people, and this is one of our cool people. And he's almost always on here. He is today, and that is this gentleman. You know who that is, Julia? It's Boomer.
Oh.
J. Frederick.
Oh, yes.
Boomer Bland, Austin Yacht Club on Lake Travis down in Austin, Texas, the capital of that free state of Texas. And he has built this thing by hand. We've been watching it all, for a year, as he has made all of the parts virtually himself, certainly all the wooden parts, and he's done a fabulous job. He's now getting it out on the water. This is a boat that was indigenous, I think that's the right word, and I think it's true, to San Francisco Bay. And James has built one in his garage and out on the driveway, and we got to get him on because he's now got the boat sailing. And what a cool-looking boat.
A piece of furniture, as they say.
It is, if you see the close-up. People are now back on Sail GP, so let's go see a few remaining comments. Never count Ben out. He is the comeback kid. Yeah, Graham Sweeney, he's a Brit and cheering for Sir Ben as he should be. Daniel Gruen, GBR only. He's a big fan of Sir Ben. Only has to beat France. If GBR gets 8th and France 9th, GBR is in. Well, we'll see. Probably. Jody says, and Jody, of course, did a lot of commentary for this. He says, if I was the Aussies and the Kiwis, I'd be making sure that the French have a passage into the finals, remove any risk that Sir Ben and his GBR team could pose if they make it through. Yeah, Sir Ben, I think you're all saying the same thing, never count him out. Ryman loves that boat of Boomer, of J. Frederick Bland. Awesome craftsmanship.
Yes.
Jonathan Frank.
We know that.
We do know that. Okay. The finish line is here, and Julia, I have, because I didn't get these in the show until you got down here, just before we went live, and you can get your finger ready for this one.
All right.
This one is really a caption contest.
Yes.
Only this show. The caption contest. Anybody want to contribute one? Daniel Gruen is saying if Ben Ainsley gets in, he wins it all. Well, he might. He's that kind of a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the caption that came with it, if anyone, unless somebody else wants to contribute one, is the ultimate race, Chris actually is. I guess that's an onion, isn't it? What is that on the left? We talked about carrots the other day.
Yeah.
Well, the caption that came with it is, and that's how vegans are born. Ken Saban's just arriving. He's in Toledo, Ohio. I'm late again, but better late than never. Carrot piranha chasing an eyeball. That's Graham Sweeney. Not a crouton, but a future Caratronian. Steve Gerber. Carrots have no taste, but it appears they don't smell so good. Oh my gosh, they're rolling in here now. Are those carrots foiling? Come back, it's only a stew. James Frederick Bland is on here. The name of that boat is Bob. Sails kind of bow down, a characteristic of that design. I can't seem to bury the bow going downwind, and very stable, the most yacht-like of the dinghies. Well, that's the thanks, Yarvahe. That is the caption that came with it, and that's how vegans are born. Guess who sent that, Julia? Ryman. Ted Ryman.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I have one more from Stingray. This came from Stingray. I speak 4 languages: English, sarcasm, sexual innuendo, and drunken sailor. And I got a bonus. You always have to do things in either 3 or 5. That's the most artistic way. You know, if you put a collection here on the desk, you count the number of items in a collection. You got to have either 3
or odd numbers,
or an odd number, but 3 or 5. So I've got one more. Thanks, Stingray, for that one. And this one is, several of you sent this. This is not the first time I've used this. Jody Shields. I wonder if the offspring identify as soup. Speaking of soup of the day, whiskey with crouton, H2O croutons. But there's some disturbing news that I read late last night. I pulled my phone out, read this as I was going to sleep, and took a picture of it so I wouldn't lose it. Croutons, this was one of these, you know how they do this clickbait, they say, and health experts say that this is the one food that will add to weight loss and to inflammation.
Yeah.
So, of course, I have to click on it.
Of course.
And luckily I did, because it was about croutons. Croutons are typically filled with preservatives and ingredients that can be inflammatory to the body, this expert says. While small amounts of inflammation are normal to experience on occasion as an immune response to injury or infection, where's Andrew McIrvin when we need him? When the issue becomes chronic, it can lead to health issues like heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, not to mention weight gain. Croutons are bad for you. Julia, we've got to get rid of these croutons. Here, they're bad for you, Julia. What do we do with these? Here, take these croutons. Take them up to the Commodore Suite. We don't want them here on the... Bad for you. Julia, you're a witness. You're looking at the croutons. I'll do it. Like, follow, and share,
Yes.
Julia likes to say, right?
I like to say like, follow, and share.
And anything else they should do? Read the comments.
Read the comments.
Comments are welcome, even in replay. If you're watching this in replay, and we appreciate the support we get from all of you, whether you're a crouton or not, become a patron. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, and give us $1 or $2 or $100 a month. Some people give more than that.
Yes, and it's really appreciated.
Really, really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who gave us images and video and audio for today's show. Julia, final thoughts?
I have a big weekend to look forward to.
We do. It's going to be fun. We're going to do a show on Friday, right?
Right.
We'll do a show nonetheless on Friday. There is practice racing on Friday, but I'm not planning to go over there and commentate for that. I don't want to. It's going to be enough to do Saturday and Sunday, the real deal. You know, club members, they'll be wiring the place up and so on.
Yeah.
The commentary is apparently going to be piped through the club.
It's supposed to be.
I confirmed that today with the GM.
And also audible to people outside.
On the front, out on the race deck, of course. Yeah.
On the race deck, and even in
the front deck in front of the grill room. Yeah, I will be up on the race deck, and we've got great show as always. Thanks, Chris. Actually, thanks, Tier DeYoung. If you turned King Harry III upside down, could you foil? Oh, that's terrible! Foil on his ears. It's just dried bread. Yeah. Steve Gruber. That's why I make my own croutons. They are better anyway.
No question about it.
If you don't open them up, Julie Aaron said they're not bad for you. Good point. Crouton show with a sailing problem. Sealed plastic bags. Yeah, they've been in that sealed plastic bag for a long time.
I think these are going to be really way beyond.
Clark Chapin's going to the first Interlake Regatta of the year, the Chiefs Regattas, this weekend in Columbus, Ohio. His 48th time attending. Bravo Zulu, Clark.
Congratulations. Huh? Yeah.
Jamie Hutchison, Ken Saban, speaking of Toledo, which is not quite halfway from Ann Arbor, Clark, down to Columbus, Ohio. Thanks. Looking forward to the weekend. Cheers. We are too. We hope you all have a great rest of your week. And if you can go sailing, and you do go sailing, by all means. We'll see you on Friday. Talk a little more about SailGP. In the meantime, we hope you have a great week. Sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now. Julia says these things have been opened. So we're going to try one.
Awful.
They're perfectly good.
Oh, yeah?
They're perfectly good, Julia. Try one. Ooh.
I think not. But I'll try one. But
try one. We're still on the air, Julia.
Oh my.
We're still on the air.
Help.
Try one. They're bitter. They're kind of sour.
Stale.
Stale? Is that what they are?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for us. The sailing show with a crouton problem.
Croutons.
See you Friday.
Bye.